the picture is terrible.
Well, it's always terrible. That's the problem. It's like I've got to find like a better camera for the live streaming in order for this to really work.
I don't think we do it often enough to make it worthwhile.
What I can't see is comments, but it's all right because so far nobody is watching, so we're all good. So I don't know if anyone's watching now. Yeah, well, 4 people. Okay.
Wow.
Right, you can start talking while I figure out how I see what's going on.
Hi, welcome to Dark Corners live stream. This is an impromptu live stream that we decided to do just because we were doing some other filming work together, and so just as long as we're here, we may as well chat to some of you guys for however long there is before bed, because it's been a really long day.
It's not been a long day. You just
been carrying shit around all day.
Carrying stuff, yeah. And it's really hot here in England right now, which is pretty sucky.
Yeah.
Especially as we're outside all day tomorrow.
Okay, so apologies if you're trying to ask questions. We can't see them.
We're just trying to find like the stream so we can see what you're saying.
Lost the live stream altogether. So how is everyone?
See this? Oh, okay.
There we go.
There we go. All right.
That's
it
better.
Turns out it was there the whole time. What have we got? Hi. Wow, literally just finished watching.
Glad you enjoyed it.
And hello there. Did we do well? Love the review of The Monster That Killed Woman. Ah, thank you.
Good.
No, that was his Patreon suggestion, so I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Very glad.
Before we go, well, some questions. What should we talk about?
What should we talk about?
What should we talk
We've
about?
exhausted all movie talk.
Yeah, so we've just been sitting there talking about movies all the time.
I suppose we should say that we did sort of that we were going to do a special episode every month, and we failed that in June.
You're always starting.
We're probably going to fail that. Well, you know, we owe people an apology. I don't want people to think we're not aware that we didn't do it.
We do have copious amounts of stuff in the edits.
Yeah, it's all the editors.
We're kind of bottlenecks. So we have the second part of the Road of the Phantom Menace, which is mostly written but not recorded. We have the 2 parts Christopher Lee's Hammer Dracula, which is the first part. The whole thing is written, so
yes.
that's maybe like a couple of weeks away.
Yeah. Sorry, someone's just asked. I feel I should answer the question, when is my next book coming out? Because if only because it gives me a chance to plug it.
We were talking about that.
It's coming out in October. It'll be called The Vengeance of the Invisible Man. And I hope everybody buys it.
Cool. And the other question we got here, I don't for this, what are your plans for future content? So we're discussing some of this as well. So obviously the weekly reviews keep going up. We got the Star Wars, the Dracula. There's still other ones that I keep batting around, which is the Ed Gein one,
Roger Corman one,
some zombie one, and Roger Corman one.
That's coming along.
Another Universal.
Yeah, there'll be a Universal Dracula one probably early next year.
We've talked about doing Guillermo del Toro one.
Yes, that would be nice. His Spanish language films, I think.
So those are some of the bigger ones that we've got in mind to do.
Yeah.
And reviews wise, what else coming up?
New reviews coming up.
Yeah, new reviews. We've got Robot Holocaust coming up. That's edited.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Thank you for buying both my books, Antar. I hope you enjoy them.
So we got all of those coming up. We've just decided on the theme for the Advent calendar.
Yeah,
Christmas.
Yearly tradition.
Of 2 years. 3rd year. That makes it a tradition now.
Yes, 3 years is a tradition. It's getting harder. After 3 years, it's getting quite hard to come up with stuff, which is terrible.
I've got ideas for years and years to come. Do we ever collab? Yes, we've collaborated with one other. Well, I guess Ben Simpson. We collaborated with him on a couple of things.
Yeah.
One thing.
Watch Waddle.
And Watch Waddle we've done a few things with. So those are the 2 that we've done. I don't think we've done any more, have we?
Not really.
No.
No.
interesting ideas. It's something we want to do. It's just coming up with the right idea that works for both channels, and we can do something that either we do something that goes on our channel and then they get something to go on their channel, or in the case of Watch Waddle, he comes and does a project
And we sort of
with
fill in
us,
some gaps.
and then when he wants something, he comes up with an idea, then we jump over and we just do that with him. I think we've got another one with him at some point. You're very welcome. I hope you're enjoying all of these films. I'm shocked by how many there are that we never seem to run out.
I know. I was actually, I wrote a post for our Patreon subscribers today talking about a film that we'll be recording next month. A review we'll be recording next month called Dr. Jekyll's Dungeon of Death, which is such a bad film. I was astounded I'd never heard of it or its maker, although it turns out to be the only non-adult film that the director had made. But there just seems to be no shortage. It was one of those films I found it and just thought, I can't believe I've never heard of this, because it's so bad. It feels like it ought to be sort of like in the ether, as it were.
Yeah, it's quite often like we'll stumble upon a film and then we look at the director and then they've just done a whole load of films. So, oh my God, this guy's just got a mountain of crap for us to wade through. Who do you think's given the scariest performance in horror?
Oh God. The scariest performance?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really know. That's not a help. That
just like turns super yellow. This colour's terrible. What else have we got? Love me some puppet on puppet action. Then you want to do Meet the Feebles. I think that's got some puppet on puppet action. Someone just saw the Jekyll thing. Have either of you watched anything you haven't seen before that blew your mind and was actually good, though? We've done some reviews that you've watched and then they were too good for the show.
Yeah.
What are some of those?
Is it called The Giant Behemoth? That was one.
Oh, yeah.
What was another one we did? Never able to think of these things when put on the spot.
Yes, occasionally it happens. But yeah, what's this one? I remember.
I don't think any of them have blown my mind and thought this is amazing.
So yeah, really enjoyed The Apple. Yeah, The Apple was a Patreon suggestion for us, so we did that, and I really liked that. I think it was just a bizarre film.
Yes, it is a bizarre film.
And those ones, I think something that aims so high and misses so
spectacularly
far, and in such flamboyant fashion, it's hard to find those that you haven't heard of.
Yeah,
because they become kind of camp classics, so they kind of get around. And then they fall into a category of where people have kind of got a fondness for them, even though they're shit.
Yeah.
And that makes doing our style of reviews hard because people get upset.
Yeah, I mean, this week's new review is another Don Dola film, and people have a great deal of affection for his films. And I think we've changed the way in which we review them as we've become more aware of him.
So where is Search for the Golden Horse review? Nobody can figure out that. I haven't even heard of this movie.
I'm sure, has that come up in a previous live stream?
Possibly.
We used to try and make a note of the films that people suggested during live streams, but it becomes very...
Who do you consider the best Dracula?
I'd probably give it to Christopher Lee.
Yeah, I think so.
Gotta love Bela Lugosi, but there's something...
Xanadu. I think we talked about doing that once, and there's something about it. It's too...
it's too mainstream.
Too mainstream. Like there's too much. It was a big production. Generally, we don't touch something which is made. I mean, it's not hard and fast. Obviously, we did the American Godzilla remake, so it's not entirely. But it's So it's a weird one. Agreed about. We watched Night of the Big Heat last evening. Actually enjoyed it. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee. Yeah, that's it. As we say, Peter Cushing, especially whatever film he's doing, he's bringing his A game.
Yeah, he's a very versatile actor, Peter Cushing. You can see him, and he never phones it in. He always gives a performance.
Yeah. Have either of you seen Highlander? Yes, many years ago.
Yeah,
I've not
same.
really gone back. Actually, one of the Highlander sequels we could probably do, like the Quickening, because that's pretty mentally stupid. One of those ones I pretty liked at the time, but I didn't know stuff better.
The first film. Sorry, I'll read the whole thing. Saw an interesting documentary called The First Film last night. Have either of you seen it? If it's the one I'm thinking of, then yes, that's the one about Louis Augustin Le Prince, who was developing a type of film technology before Edison and disappeared in mysterious circumstances.
Yeah.
And his wife was convinced that Edison had him killed. Probably he committed suicide, but his wife remained convinced. He vanished completely during a train journey.
We have done Horrors of Spider Island, Lord O'Shower. I don't know if that was a suggestion or that was a response to something, but we have done that one. Favorite werewolf film?
Probably American Werewolf in London.
Yes. Yeah, totally agree. When I first found your channel, I recommended Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde as a potential.
Is that the Hammer one? I don't think it's Dr.
Yeah,
that's Dr. Jekyll. That's Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, I think.
Yeah.
Which I think is the best film in the world, but I think it's too good for us.
We are aware of his film Fiends, Don Doda's film, and I'm sure we will get around to doing it.
Yeah.
I think
we've only got Fiends left to sort of complete the classic Dola section.
Yeah.
He made a couple of other films, but later in life.
Lost Empire we haven't done. What are your thoughts on the cinematic universe? We talk about this stuff a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Just as a
interminably,
we talk about it as the pluses and minuses of it, and how long you can keep it going and what you need to make it work. Because obviously Marvel has been incredibly successful with it, DC less so, Universal even less so.
Universal, there was some degree of so.
I'm also convinced that once Bond 25 is out the way, Barbara Broccoli will sell the Bond franchise, and we will have a Bond where it will spin off into Felix Leiter films.
You see, David Hedison died yesterday.
I did not.
Yes.
Bring me down.
Sorry. I posted about it.
So that's my theory with the Bond. It's after Daniel Craig, Broccoli's going to sell it, and it's just going to be done. And it's not something they tried before, because Jinx in the last Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah,
she was introduced, and she was going to have a spin-off series with Michael Madsen, but that really unfortunately didn't happen. Spider Island. Do you think Christopher Reeve gave bad performances? I think he gave unenthusiastic performances.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He's a very charismatic actor, Christopher Lee. He's one of these people who he doesn't have to do a whole lot to turn in a good performance, because he always just seems very present. There's just something magnetic about him on screen. But yeah, as Graham says, there are certainly ones where he seems pretty unengaged.
Have we considered Son of Kong for a review? No, because we kind of touched on it in the Career of Kong video. Yeah, so you probably said all we care to say on that one.
Feels like kicking it when it's down with Son of Kong. I
just got partly the reason that one gets rushed out is because they're trying to get in before all of the other copycats jumped in. There was something about that in there.
I don't know. I mean, the expense of the technology for it, I don't think anyone was ever going to really jump on that bandwagon.
Oh, they weren't going to do it well. Yeah, they weren't going to make it good, but it was right for being taken. Dracula in a Woman's Prison. Have you seen that one yet? No, but I think we might. I cannot sit through more than 10 minutes. Curious as to why. Was it? Yes, who knows?
Is it a modern one? Sounds like something it just doesn't sound like a film anybody would make.
Have you got that
unless
one?
It was a spoof.
You have to find the poster for that one.
Yeah. I'm sure that, because I have been looking at some Dracula films recently, that does ring a bell. And I thought it was maybe more modern. What monsters do you find scarier, humanoid or non-humanoid? I don't think the shape makes a lot of difference, if I'm honest. It depends on how they're presented. I think generally humanoid monsters
scarier because there's
The
something
familiarity.
insidious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something familiar that's being made
Yeah.
creepy.
I like
Invasion
it.
of the Body Snatchers.
I think
is a good
for
example.
me to get scared, it's got to be somewhat grounded, and if it's like a big monstery thing, there's a disconnect there.
Yeah,
But
I think big monstery things can make you jump and can certainly scare you in the cinema. But if you're having nightmares about something months afterwards, it's probably something. It's more likely something humanoid or potentially something animal, something you see on an everyday basis.
I didn't get to see the new Godzilla movie. I don't think you did either.
No.
So I don't know. The reviews didn't seem exciting enough for me to see it. So I'll wait for Netflix.
To be honest, people said it wasn't as good as the first one. I didn't think the first one.
What do you think of the current climate of film preservation? This is your favourite topic. Go for it. We've got, if you go back into Undead, we've got a whole video where we talk about film restoration.
Yeah. I think it's great they are being preserved. It's very important work. It's being done a lot more now. People are more aware that these films are still worth something, and they're making a greater effort. And you get great new releases every year from companies like Eureka.
Yeah. I'm fascinated. Yeah. So Rutger Hauer died.
Yes.
And you came in and told me that he died. And I was like, okay. And that's kind of how I feel about there seem to be people dying all the time.
There are people dying all the time. It's the human condition.
But I don't know who are the ones that are going to affect me, because even as Rutger Hauer, okay, yeah, that's sad. But I don't have any particular attachment.
So David Hedison didn't bother you?
No, didn't just die. So I don't know like whose death is going to make me go, oh, that's a thing. Like it was say,
when Christopher Lee died, I felt genuinely affected by it. Yeah. More so by Ray Harryhausen, and the celebrity death that affected me most was Terry Pratchett. Mm-hmm. But I would struggle that you often don't know how these things are going to affect you until they happen.
Yeah, I'm quite cold and callous about that sort of thing. You want to review Never Say Never Again, Operation Kid Brother? Yeah, maybe. Operation Kid Brother is an interesting one. I haven't seen Antiviral, so maybe we will. What's your opinion of the 1979 Nosferatu?
I think it's good. I don't think it's as good as the original. I think it struggles to be two things. I think that Werner Herzog is trying to pay tribute in some ways to the silent film, but his style of filmmaking is so far removed from Murnau's that he has a much looser style, whereas Murnau's a very composed shot. And I think the two things rub up against each other a little awkwardly. But it's a good film nonetheless.
King Kong Lives, Mr. E was an extra in it.
Really?
Can you see yourself? Are there any obscure horror sci-fi films you would like to get the Eureka treatment?
There's a lot of the time these films are only brought to my attention. I'm not an expert on old movies. I'm just someone who enjoys them, so I don't tend to know that they exist until I get to see them. I'm not sure what stage some of this stuff is at. Horror and sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Not sure. The film that I most want to see restored is Murnau's The Burning Earth, which isn't really horror or sci-fi, but hasn't been restored yet.
Have you seen Cello the Vampire?
Yes.
Really great film. I remember seeing that in cinema. Loved it.
He's a soldier.
He's an actor. We got a lot of lady cognizance. Oh, cool. Lucky for you.
Yeah, that is an awful film. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you were an excellent soldier.
How did you find out about the original Nosferatu? It's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which now this surprised me. So I was chatting to somebody who's not a film person by any means. I go cinema, just Joe Public. She's from Germany, and she did not know of Nosferatu or Murnau. And she's like 26. I was like, that's amazing. Because there's some stuff we take for granted as just being in osmosis. You think everyone knows Nosferatu. Maybe you should recognise him.
But
maybe you should recognise.
Yeah, I've said this before with the expressionist horror films. Those images are engraved on people's memories, even if they don't know what film they come from.
But I had the same my old flatmate, and she'd never heard of Citizen Kane or Orson Welles. I find that
that reflects very poorly on her.
That's it. I was like, I don't expect you to have seen Citizen Kane, but I would think through osmosis you would have heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So, expert or not, you're very philosophical. Not professional. Sorry, I'm philosophical.
You're a professional if you're getting paid.
Oh, then we're not professional. Favorite film documentary, Lost in La Mancha is very good. The Terry Gilliam one, so The Hamster Factor's really good. There's a documentary on the making of Willard that I really enjoy, just because it sort of exposes it.
One called something like Kingdom of Dreams and Shadows about Studio Ghibli. That was made during the making of the last two films of Miyazaki, and I'm going to forget the other guy's name. Isao Takahata, and that's a really good documentary. He's not at all like Miyazaki's not at all like I expected. I suppose I expected someone sort of twinkly and avuncular, and he seems quite depressed about everything.
The Harryhausen documentary is really good.
Yes,
that's a really solid documentary. On YouTube, you can find really solid documentaries on Murnau and the Hammer Frankenstein films.
Mark Cousins' History of Film. I mean, it's 14 hours long, but it's brilliant. Do you know that's not made to be episodic? That's made to be one film. They just cut it up into episodes. Nobody actually does, but there's no titles or anything when you sit down to watch it.
Have done. Did you see Brian Cox's performance as Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah. Have you not seen Manhunter?
Oh yes, of course, but not so long ago.
Was there a question of actual? Was it just
have you seen? Oh, what do you think?
I find that film has aged more poorly than Silence of the Lambs. But I think that's more to do with the aesthetic. It just looks so 80s. But Brian Cox is very good. But I saw that after Silence of the Lambs, and it's really hard to sort of rejig your brain into accepting another Hannibal Lecter that's so different.
So, do we have an opinion on the channel? Awesome controversy. And I know, thank you, Lord O'Shower. Super generous of you. I know you've got no idea about that.
No.
The whole channel awesome thing is like so far from where we are, so I'm vaguely aware of it just because out of curiosity as to what's going on. I don't get into any of that. We're our own little thing. We don't get into YouTube drama with other channels or care that much about what's going on with them. So yes. So that was my opinion on the thing. I never watched his reviews that much anyway. So I like Angry Video Game Nerds. I really like his stuff, and I like Red Letter Media a lot. And there's another film one that I like with a woman, and I can't remember her name. But those are the main film ones that I watch. I've gone Horse on VHS.
Universal Horror is a good film documentary. I agree.
Yes, I've got that box set. The Criterion Collection would release all of the Showa era Godzilla films. I hope they do, because I was trying to track down some of the Godzilla films when we were looking to do the review, and then there doesn't seem to be like a good solid release of the Godzilla films. They're really scattered. And I think it's the same with a lot of the Hammer films. They all got different distributions. And so, because when we did the Hammer Dracula series that we're doing at the moment, you can't buy all of the Hammer Dracula films in one box set. We had to buy like one box set here, a double box set there, and then individual DVD just to get all the copies.
Very expensive way of doing it.
Yeah,
the Universal ones are a lot more convenient. It was legacy box sets.
Very frustrating. I hope that Criterion or somebody does a really good job with the Godzilla films. I have not seen Cane Toads. Red Midway Gem Movie Review shows best format. Yes, agree. The Revenge are awesome. Agree. Did you know the actor who played the villain in Highland went on to voice Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob? I did not know that. Yes, check out Lord O'Shower. He's got a check out his channel. They do the one that I watched most recently was about dragons, like reviewing the dragons in films, and they rate them on a dragon scale, which I thought was rather good. So yes, do check them out, especially as they gave us money. After watching your review of Faster, Pussycat Kill Kill, I declined to watch it. I enjoyed it more. I decided to watch it. I can't read. Yeah, that was a Faster, Pussycat Kill Kill was definitely one of the films that we reviewed where we went, this is actually not a great film. It's a good film.
It's a well-made film.
It's a well-made
As with a lot
film.
of Russ Meyer's films, the editing's fantastic.
Yeah,
There's a lot to recommend it. The acting remains shockingly bad.
And the cinematography is nice.
Oh yeah,
It looks gorgeous.
Good-looking film.
The girls are gorgeous, and the editing is really great, ahead of its time. So yeah,
the acting is catastrophic.
Yeah. Have not seen the Criterion restoration of Night of the Living Dead. I didn't know George Lucas had anything to do with that though. Have not seen Razorback and know of it.
Oh, I've seen Razorback. I like it very much, and it has, just from a British perspective, the older guy in it, Bill Kerr, is better known in this country as a comedy star because he was in Hancock's Half Hour in the 50s and 60s.
What's your favourite Vincent Price performance?
My favourite one is, I think it's got to be one of the Edgar Allan Poe ones. My favourite is probably The Raven, just because I saw that was the first of the Poe adaptations I saw when I was a kid, because it's the comedy one, and I've always had an affection for it. His best is maybe Pit and the Pendulum or House of Usher.
How different would cinema be if Star Wars was never made? That's quite an interesting one, because Star Wars, I think we wouldn't be that far off, because at the same time Lucas is making Star Wars, Spielberg is making Close Encounters. And
the whole tone of those.
No, totally different. But I think the effects aspect of it is the big thing with Star Wars, is that effects was a dying industry within Hollywood at that point.
Yeah.
And they just basically breathed new life into it. And what Spielberg did with Close Encounters was very good as well.
But would he have been able to make Close Encounters without Industrial Light and Magic, who wouldn't exist if Star Wars was
I don't think Industrial Light and Magic did Close Encounters, because they both came out the same year.
I thought they did, but I'll
check it. I believe they did not. I don't think.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah. So, are you going to make a video about the battle between the Japanese studio and Taisho? Maybe. I think there's some that we want to sort of get into doing some documentaries about the foreign films, but we don't necessarily know enough about it. So it requires a bit of reading to put these things together. Do you think the new Star Wars films are all crap?
Yes.
I couldn't say
In fairness,
crap.
I can't say that because I've only seen one of them, and that was crap enough to put me off from wanting to see any more.
My opinion was Force Awakens, some interesting characters, but exactly the same story, which sets the new trilogy off on a really bad foot. I like some of the stuff that Rian Johnson did, but what he was handed didn't leave him many places to go. And then so it backtracked on a lot of the first film. So the third film I've got really, really low expectations for. Rogue One, I found pretty boring. The end battle was good, though. There was some interesting stuff in that. And Solo was an okay action-adventure film. Not very Star Warsy. There you go. That's my take on it.
Lots of good suggestions for.
There's lots of good suggestions.
Price.
By the way, you're very welcome, Mr. E.
And so is Paul.
And anyone else.
Chrisman. Thank you.
After the Weinstein affair, what celebrity had accusations against him surprised you the most? So, none of them, I think. So,
I'm very disappointed by Kevin Spacey.
No, but the Kevin Spacey one is the one that annoys me the most, because actors in London, so somewhat within the scene, but not super into the scene. I knew there were rumours about Kevin Spacey because he was the artistic director of the Old Vic.
Yeah.
And this was going around. So everybody knew and nobody said anything. And then everybody acts shocked.
I genuinely didn't know, but I guess I'm not in the loop on this.
And it was the same if you're English and you remember that when Eureka Johnson talked about getting date raped by a presenter, and I was working at ITV at the time, she didn't name him, but everybody knew. They knew it was one of two people. And one of them still working and has not been outed in this yet, so I can't say the name, but a known super lech. But everybody knew and nobody was surprised. So there's this thing that everybody knows and they blatantly turn a blind eye to it. With the Jimmy Savile thing is another one where they would not have Jimmy Savile on Children in Need, which is like a telethon in England for children in need. So it's all promoting children. And at the time, Jimmy Savile is a big personality in the BBC. He's got a show which is Jim will Fix It, which is done for kids to sort of, make their wishes come true. So he's like a big fixture on the channel dealing with kids. They would not have him on Children in Need because of the rumours. And so everybody knows, so none of them are that big a shock. That's my take on that. We've got through how many questions I got?
No. There's the Weinstein one side.
Okay. Oh, cool. Yes, last 45 minutes are fine. Green New Souls films are all crap. Why do you think the magic of the original? I think it's a lack of one person's vision.
You can't actually replicate originality.
Yeah.
There are people out there with great and original ideas which have the potential, I suppose, to be maybe not the next Star Wars, but to be the next something.
Yeah.
And but that would mean taking a risk, and studios these days are very risk averse, even though they're making an enormous amount of money.
Do you have difficulty separating actors' real lives from their performances? No, I think I don't really get into their real lives that much. So I'm okay. Like if the performance is good, then I'm like, it doesn't stop me. I'm still going to watch a good Kevin Spacey film because it's the same.
You deny yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
are you going to stop watching Alfred Hitchcock films because he wrote a nice guide to the women? And you can go down the list. Like there's
Fritz Lang was an absolute bastard. Who may have murdered his wife.
So
there were rumours, but